Is there a relationship between faith and mental health?
You cannot separate faith with the mind. They are very connected. Your parent is not just a superhero. In them, there's a child that faced rejection.
Your life is only meaningful and purposeful if it has God. Make a conscious decision to forgive somebody. Learn to love yourself.
You often know when you need to let someone go.
The worst poison is the one that you drink every day, but you go out and pretend as if everything is fine.
Your brain tells you, you're going to lose other people. So to be safe, keep everyone close.
When an organism is fighting against itself, it will not prosper. It will die faster than it can live.
I'd like to pose a final question, which all of you are going to answer in about a minute. So we've looked at it professionally, we've tried to look at it from all angles. Is there a relationship between faith and mental health? Lisa, I'm going to start with you.
Well, as I said earlier, for me as a counselor, if someone comes to me and poses an issue to me, the first I ask is, how are you spiritually? But first, as a counselor, because you're not supposed to impose your faith to the client, so you have to be very wise with asking such questions. But first, you have to know how just give me a small snippet of your life in the secret place. With me getting how your life is in the secret place, I'm able to tell why all these things are happening to you. Because as I said, what happens with the mind, it's a medium between the spirit and the body. So when your spirit is not well fed, your mind becomes really affected. So there's a connection. You cannot separate the mind with faith. You cannot separate it. And as a counselor, I say the ultimate healing comes from God. I cannot give you ultimate healing. I'll be a vessel, but the ultimate healing comes from God. You have to be very rooted spiritually for you to become well, because God is a holistic healer. He will heal your mind. He will heal your body. When the word talks about God being a healer, it doesn't stop at your physical body. It begins with the mind. Yeah. So there's a greater connection. You cannot separate faith with mental health. You cannot separate faith with the mind. They are very connected. Yeah.
Awesome. I really thank you. This is where you clap. Thank you. I think that what you did there is something that is planted in my mind now, about the spirit and the mind and the body, and how everything is just flowing, but it starts from the spirit. I also liked what you mentioned about renewing your mind, constantly. Romans 12:1, like, let your mind be constantly renewed. The more you renew your mind, then the more you're a holistic person generally. So God doesn't just heal your physical being, He also heals your mind and heals all of you, basically. Awesome. Dr. Wango, in 1 minute.
Your life is first of all about God. God is number one. Then you are number two. Then your family is number three. Then your work is number four. And then your friends is number five. You can't have your life without God, because God created you. Those of you who may study more of psychology and religion, you'll find several books on psychology and philosophy, psychology and religion. And there's a reason why, and that's why I'm trying to be very brief. The spiritual person has something to do with existence. There is something we call existentialism. It's this thing you have seen people have turned around to, you only live once. I don't know whether you've ever heard this. You only live once. Yes, they created it. It has something to do with existentialism. Existentialism is about the meaning making you make of the world. And you only make meaning in the world if you know God created you. And that is where life starts and stops. Your life is only meaningful if it has a purpose. And it is only a purpose and a meaning. The difference between meaning and purpose is, meaning is how you define your life. Purpose is how you fulfill it. Your life is only meaningful and purposeful if it has God.
Okay. Wow. That deserves a clap. Your life is only meaningful if it's purposeful. And if it's only purposeful if it has? Awesome. Good stuff. Maureen, I'm going to phrase the question a bit differently for you. What does God have to say about mental health?
What does God have to say about mental health? That's a good question. I want to use what Lisa has taught us today. God cares about all aspects of your mental health. Your body, your mind, your spirit. Because one, he came to die on the cross for your spirit so that you never ever perish. And so he cares about your spirit. He cares for not just your comfortability now, but for your spirit. He cares about your mind. He'd teach the disciples the word at every chance he gets. He'd teach them what is right, because he's renewing their minds. And he speaks in Romans, we read in Romans about renewing our minds. He also cares about the body. He tells us in Matthew, come to me all you who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So he cares about all three parts of your mental health. So wherever you're tired, whenever you face a block, go to the word. There's something there. When David was having some of the worst times of his life, he's running away from a man who's trying to kill him. He'd complain, "Oh God, my enemies, beat them, slap them, kill them, but my heart trusts in you, Lord." He'd always go back to God. When Elijah is having suicidal moments and saying, "God, I'd rather die. Me, I don't want," and he's had a big victory on Mount Carmel, God sends an angel who tells him, "Bro, amka, ukule na ukunywe, tuendele na safari." Basically, lamba glucose, tukisonga. And he didn't tell Elijah, "Surely, you've just come from a great victory. You should be a strong man." He brought food, he brought rest, and allowed Elijah to rest at the time because he had a long journey ahead. So God cares about every part of our mental health.
This is why you even stamp your feet, guys. Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to our panelists. Sorry, cut up. I think they've done a really, really good job. I would have loved to go, through all the questions, but we are short of time. We'll see what we can answer. So I'm going to take a couple of questions. I think I'll take about 5. And as I do that, I'd like to welcome the other panelists on stage. I'd like to welcome our very own Pastor Ndanu. Let's have someone bring her seat over here. Pastor Ndanu. Then we have Bochaberi, Winnie, and Wahome. Where is Wahome? Oh, okay, sawa. So I think I'm just gonna make it very, very, very simple. If you have a question, shoot up your hand, ask your question. Let us know who you're directing it to. If it's a general question, let us know as well. Awesome.
Hi everyone. So my question is to the counselors. How do you approach someone who is not of the faith? They've come to you, they don't believe in God. So how do you deal with that? Wamekuja, wanataka kujua, I'm struggling, I have depression. Someone who doesn't know God at all.
My name is Faith from Broken Crayons. My question is to Dr. Geoffrey. You mentioned about childhood challenges, and you said that you should have a father figure, and this is the authority figure in your life. So what exactly did you mean by that? Does it mean that if I miss having a father when being brought up, should I be kind of authoritative, or should I miss it? How would you kindly expound on that? Another one, I don't know if we talked about it. How do you cope up with relapse and the stages of grief? It's open to everyone.
Good evening. My name is Shazi from Tribe Atara. So my question is open to everybody. So there is this disorder called bipolar disorder. I don't know how to phrase my question, but I'll try, and I hope mtanielewa. Is there a good bipolar disorder and bad bipolar disorder? Like, is there a good bipolar disorder?
Hi everyone. My name is Valentine from Kairos. How do you learn to attach yourself from people when they hurt you and let them go completely?
Hilgan Samuel, and for me, my question is that can someone be going through trauma and hajui?
Good evening. My name is Alex. My question is directed to Lisa. Can you elucidate the three cogs of the body, the spirit? What is it? The three cogs of a person. There is the mind, and I wanted to understand how can you delete some of these coping mechanisms?
My name is Dorcas from City Caesars. My question goes to the one who will feel comfortable to answer the question. Suppose I meet someone right now, how can I be able to differentiate between someone who is an introvert and someone who is a malignant narcissist? Secondly, suppose the way you interact with someone, you notice someone is going through something, but that person is somehow reserved, completely rigidly reserved. What's the best way to make that person open up?
How do you heal if you feel like God also caused the trauma in your life? For example, if you feel God led you to a particular person and that person maybe abused you, and so you have beef with God. God led you to a particular man, for example, and that person abused you, and it is the Spirit of God that led you. How do I even heal? I know human beings can be evil, but when God is the one who led me there, how do I even heal?
Okay.
How do I even trust you?
Okay. Okay. I think we can start with that last question, and I would like Maureen to answer it.
Haya, the question was how to heal God trauma.
Yes.
Una feel kama God aliniongelesha kaniambia niende kwa Mato. Lakini Mato vile alifanya na roho yangu.
Alikuruka kipetero kiesi.
Kuruka tu, alichukua kaikanyagia hivi. Let me say that one of the things you need to do from that space is a journey of forgiveness. You start by forgiving God. And this is what I mean by forgiving God. Not that God did anything wrong that is worthy of forgiveness, but whatever offense you feel that God caused you, you forgive it. Okay? God is no man to lie or to lead you wrong. So whatever offense, God sets in us, again I've said the right and the wrong. That's how he orders us as human beings. So in the way he's caused justice to be in our eyes, even when you see someone doing something wrong to someone else, you'll be like, that's unjust. So in your heart, you feel that God caused an offense. Begin by forgiving it. Okay? Because the only person who can help you fully forgive Mato and everyone else who've hurt you is God. Okay? So if you do not allow your heart to release that offense that you feel you have beef with God, then he can't help you forgive. Because what is happening is that your spirit is fighting your mind, is fighting your body. When an organism is fighting against itself, it will not prosper. It will die faster than it can live. So for your spirit to live so that it can trickle in all the good things to the mind and to the body, you have to first forgive. The second person you have to forgive is yourself. I don't know whatever actions you had that the Lord told you Mato is the man, but there was something wrong there. Something was wrong somewhere, right? Perhaps, indeed, God led you there to be a friend to Mato. You liked Mato, you decided to be Mato's girlfriend, right? Ukakuwa confused. There was something, a miscommunication of sorts that happened, because then if that happened and you blame yourself for what happened, you must forgive yourself. If Mato, even if he was led by God to come date you, hurt you in whatever way, you must forgive Mato. I say that to mean that God did install Saul, knowing very well Saul was not a good king. He was chosen by God, was he not?
He was.
He was chosen by God, right? In many scriptures, many kings who took the throne, even many times God would punish the Israelites by using an evil kingdom. And so sometimes you'll go through some things because God is using them to refine you, not to hurt you. And so our heart takes offense at something God is doing. Imagine you're an Israelite and you guys have been captured by the Babylonians. You're pissed at God, sindio? Because we are your chosen people. Surely, tukiandika vitu, if there are people who are chosen, it is us. He's done all these things, but he sent a kingdom to punish us for a reason. What is the reason? That we might realize our sin and go back to God. He's not trying to hurt us. He's trying to draw us to himself. So maybe that offense, whatever offense you feel that you have beef with God, happened that you may come back to God. God never does anything to push you away from himself. Everything he does, it is always to bring you back to him. And the tangent of going away from God and being away from God is whose idea? The devil's idea. He loves it when we're pissed at God, because what is happening to our spirit? It is withering instead of growing. He loves it when we are pissed at God, because if you're pissed at God, there are three people in this story: you, God, and him, the enemy. And if you're pissed at God, who are you siding with? The enemy. So you have to choose. It's okay to be pissed at God. David was pissed at God. He'd be like, surely you did, and he'd complain. You can read the whole psalm and be like, bro, you are the Lulu up in here. David was pissed at God many times, but he still went back to God and said, my heart is like this, my mind is like this, I am annoyed. God, why would you? He'd even begin a psalm by, God, why would you forsake us? Why would you do this to us? So even when you're pissed at God, go back. He is a God who can handle your tantrums. He's a God who can handle your anger. He's a God who can handle whatever harsh words you want to say to him. And he will not be like, hey, madam, umekuja? Hey, relax. He's a God who can handle it. So even when you're pissed at God, go to him and say, this is how I feel. I need you to help me in this situation. We feel like sometimes, and we've learned this from our family of origin, that you can only come to your father or your parent when you're okay.
Yes, yes.
Don't come with me with tears and makamasi and and ulio maliza alafu kuja uniambie, si ndio? That's what our parents tell us. And many times we translate, copy, with God. But God says, come. Vile uko, come na makamasi, na madrama, na kelele, kuja nazo. Because he's a God who can handle our emotions. He created those emotions. And so go to God and say, I'm pissed because we prayed about my mom. We prayed, you told me she'd be healed, and now she's dead. What the hell? Ask the hard questions. And God will give you an answer. And even if he doesn't, the Hebrew boys would say, when they were told to bow and that they'd be thrown in the fire, they'd say, our God will save us. But even if he doesn't, we are still not bowing. Would it be your testimony that even if God doesn't answer you that very question you're so pissed about, you'd still trust him?
Yo, this is where you clap. I really like what you said, Maureen. Thank you.
Okay, I'll quickly answer about 4 of them. From the professor. The one who is asking about narcissistic. Very good. I was very happy to see you are learning. Now, very briefly, the trick is this. And by the way, when Jasmine sent me the text, I told her that you people are covering about 5 to 6 topics. And one of them is, what you are covering is relationship and relationship building. That's why it is important for you to understand the 5 stages of a relationship. And I'll just state them. The first one is when you meet somebody. The second one is you get acquainted with the person. What is your name and who are you? The third one is association. In association is when you date the person. That's why you're supposed to date the person for 3 to 6 months. Minimum. And then after you date the person, listen carefully, that is when you make an engagement to get with the person. And the 5th one that people call marriage is a commitment. That's what people don't know. Everybody I see, they tell me, we are getting married, we are committed. To who? Where? How did you get here? That's why you have those issues where you are unable to know whether the person is an introvert or an extrovert. What is the personality of this person? And the way out is for, and that's why it is also godly for you to take time, go to your pastor, go for premarital counseling, and understand this person. The second quick one is the one on bipolar. Bipolar is actually what most we Africans call a mad person. By the way, that's what is bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. There is no good or bad bipolar. And by the way, drinking and drug abuse is actually a mental health condition. It's not just about and depression and bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. There's no better bipolar than another one. They are both bad. The only thing is that in bipolar 1, it has not intensified to bipolar 2. And by the way, whenever you are getting healed, even from bipolar, there are two things. You have to take the medicine and you have to attend to therapy. And that's why the most important thing we keep telling you is learn to love yourself. Then the third one, forgiveness. Yeah. Forgiveness keeps coming in. Let me quickly explain the issue of forgiveness. Many people don't understand what is forgiveness, and I like this and the way Maureen is answering. Forgiveness is not about what this did to me. It's about me forgiving this. That's why we never get it. You know, unajua this alienda akiambia kila mtu, it has nothing to do with this. Forgiveness is about you. You make a conscious decision to forgive somebody. And that's why we summarize it in Nelson Mandela. What did Nelson Mandela say when he walked out of prison? He said, I am free. And he kept telling the people who, the prison wardens, I am free. And they would ask him, how can you be free when you're in prison? And he would say, I am free. I am the one who has chosen to be free. It's you who chooses to be free. The next one is the father-mother figure. Very, very important. I'm so excited you guys picked it. The first one is in the Bible, where she is talking about. How many characters in the Bible do you know? I am one person who loves Jacob. I am a good fan of Jesus, Jacob, and Paul. And if you follow the story of the three, you will see why the father figure is the God figure. God is the one who created you. So you respect God. So from God, you have several qualities. I think, Elisa, you pick those qualities later. In one of your sermons. Is that okay? Maureen, sorry. Maureen, you pick those ones. God has certain things that he picks. And you need to pick them. That's why God is the father figure. Then when you take these characteristics of God, God is forgiving, God is kind, God is humble. And that's why Jesus is the exemplar of God. Then you take those things and then you exemplify them in your life. So when you exemplify godly figureness, you exemplify that you are here to do a service to God. It's not your life, it's God's life. But this life is not yours. It belongs to God. And if God wants it where you are seated or mine, he will take it. So when you come also to loss and grief, you do the same way. And you understand that life is from God. You glorify God and you move from glory to glory. Because every day of your life is about God.
Pastor, maybe you can also answer the question on how to approach, Pastor Ndanua, on how to approach people of different faiths.
Yes, if they're not born again. I wanted to say, or if they're not Christians. I think that applies also to evangelism, even if you're doing counseling now in this context. Friendship. I don't have to be a Christian for me to be your friend. So friendship, you can be a friend to them. And the Bible says, you will know them by their fruit. I don't have to preach the gospel for you to know that I'm a Christian. By the way you treat me when I'm depressed. If I'm depressed, are you going to abandon me? Are you going to be my friend? Are you going to be a light to me? So you don't have to preach. You can just live your life. You can be loving to that person. You can pray for them behind the scenes. You can be a friend to them. And they will see the light. They will know you by their fruit, not necessarily by your preaching. Have I answered the question? Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll handle the question on the three cogs. One thing I want to mention, I just want to handle pornography and masturbation a bit separately because it's a case study I've been doing. I have close to 20 people, and you realize like 85% of them started masturbation at nursery. Yes. Sayata, we are not open enough, but I'm so sure if we even take people or take the nini right now, you'd see that masturbation, most of people begin under the age of 5. So najuliza, well, sexual arousal is something that is driven by hormones. A kid at 5, hormones hazija grow, so you ask yourself, where is this thing coming from? And you come to realize these things are so spiritual, and it's a way of the enemy to corrupt our minds, because he wants to draw us from the will of God. When you are created, God spoke, you're like a word spoken to the world to fill a certain gap in the world. Wewe mwenyewe, you're a word that was spoken to the world to fulfill something, or rather to complete the story of God in a certain area. So the devil knows this, and he wants to corrupt you at a younger age, yenye uwezi jitoa, because I mean, as a child, and as Maureen said, the law is written in our heads. Because even for these people ukiwauliza, they don't masturbate openly because they are kids and they don't know that it's an issue, it's a problem, yeah. So it's just the devil corrupting the mind. And I think I'd love to have my examples again with the 3 nini, please. Okay. So the mind is very important in the spirit. So the enemy knows that when you're in line with the perception of God over your life, you're going to do miracles, you're going to do wonders. There's greatness within you. So he knows he cannot touch the spirit. Yeah. He cannot touch him. He has no power with this one. So the easiest thing to touch is this one. Yeah? And when he touches this your mind, when he corrupts it, now he separates you from the spirit. He separates you as a person from the spirit. So you're not able to walk in the perception of God about your life. Sasa hapo ndo hata unajulizanga, ai papasi yangu ni gani? Nimeitwa kufanya nini? Because the enemy corrupted you, and he does this. He mostly corrupts the mind when you're a kid. Because anajua hapa you have no control. Most of the things are so unconscious to you. So he will have power in your life as a kid, because hauna hata hujafunzwa about spirituality, so you cannot pray, you cannot feed your spirit. So he will have power over your life as a kid easily. And I think you can relate. I just try to relate pornography and masturbation when I'm explaining this. So when he corrupts the mind, now he gets your destiny. Yeah? Because when your mind is corrupted, you're not able to walk into the perception of God over your life. And the way he corrupts your mind is by bringing, some things are very spiritual. Sometimes hatuelewangi hizi vitu. And I know I might sound very biased as a counselor to say that even most of these mental health issues, they are very spiritual. The devil comes into in your life and naona, this one faced rejection as a kid. So what do we do to get to them? Or, this one lacked a father as a kid. So what do we do to get to them? Stories our baba. Yeah? Stories our baba. Sexual immorality begins because now you're seeking love in the wrong places, yeah? So unajipata when the devil corrupts your mind, anakuja tena in your life anaona, she doesn't think she's pretty. Yeah, there's rejection. Kuna mtu alimwambia sijui anakaaje. Aliambiwa ako na mapua kubwa akiwa nursery. So, anajua, the best way to attack this person, I've called this person to be a speaker. Yeah? And when I corrupt her identity, and when I make her to struggle with issues like low self-esteem, she will never get the courage to stand and do the work that God called her to do. So the devil corrupts the mind so that you don't walk in the version that God purposed you to walk in.
So your destiny is aborted.
Yeah, your destiny is aborted. So hizi vitu zote, pornography, masturbation, anxiety, all these things. I know it sounds wrong to come from a counselor. I'm sorry.
Preach, girl. Preach.
Yeah, because we are told about, theory and everything. But one thing that I've come to realize, we've depended on the intelligence of the world so much that we don't depend on the intelligence of the word. Yeah? And that's so wrong. That's so wrong. That's why I honestly, I don't really work from theory. I work from here. Hizi vitu zote, it's the scheme of the enemy to corrupt you so that you don't walk in the fullness that God called you to walk in. So your story, how to heal from such things, again, it begins from here. Everything runs from the spirit. Feed your spirit. Feed your spirit, be in your secret place, and everything will begin to, utaanza tu walk in the fullness of God. Yeah.
Amazing. Way. Put that on a t-shirt, somebody. Put that on a t-shirt. Thank you so much, Lisa. But Shaberi, you're going to answer the question about narcissism.
Okay. I'm going to tackle how to differentiate an introvert and that narcissist. Yeah. So I'd say for me, one thing I've come to realize about people who are like narcissists is they will manipulate you and you'll think it's love. Yeah, that's what I went through. They control you in a way that is unhealthy, but you don't know. An introvert is just a quiet person, a shy person, but at the end of the day, they're going to be kind to you and you'll notice. So if you want to know the difference, introverts are just quiet people. But now, if you're going to deal with someone who manipulates you and wants you to think that is love, run. Yeah, thank you.
I want to deal with this one last question about, let me start with the one to how to get someone to open up if they are an introvert. Just be their friend. If you're an introvert, you know that if someone is genuinely interested in you and they become your friend, this person becomes a chatterbox. They start talking and talking. So the only way to get someone to open up, and this is like time trusted. There's a book I read about how to make friends. What's the name of that? How to make friends and influence people. Yeah. The one subject that people love to talk about is themselves. So if you want to get someone to open up, just ask them about their life. Any simple question, their life. Where did you get your dress? What do you do for fun? They just start talking. And that's how you get to know them and get to realize the things that they do for fun, for life. That's where you get to know if they're a red flag or not. Yeah. And then there's a lady who talked about having lost many people. So when she has friends or certain people, she wants to cling and not to let go. And she was wondering how to navigate that space. When you go through something like loss or grief, because it's a trauma, and when you don't have the right coping mechanisms, your brain tells you, you're going to lose other people. So to be safe, keep everyone close. Just keep everyone close. It doesn't matter if they're bad or they're good. Just keep everyone close because you're afraid of the fear of losing. You're afraid of losing people. Now, when your mind, you often know when you need to let someone go. Sindio? But you're afraid of going back to that place of, I have lost this person. So it goes back to, and this is a conversation I'd like perhaps to have one-on-one, it goes back to the boundaries that you were taught when you were a child. Because if you don't learn boundaries or if you have porous boundaries in your family, what happens is, even if someone is bad, you keep them close. Juu tunaambiwangu hata kama ni mubaya ni wenu. Sindio? So you learn to keep them close. They stay in the circle, even if they're bad. In fact, when you know you need to let someone go, even when it is hard, let them go. Because you know what God is doing in that moment? He's separating the wheat and the chaff. He's separating you from certain people for a reason. So if you feel you have trouble separating, that's a conversation we can work with. It's a procedural thing. We can talk about how to wean yourself off someone as you progress and move. If it's that you're afraid of finding community in the next space, we figure out what's the community for you, how to make friends and move into the new space. So let them go.
Maureen, I know we are short of time, but let me ask this. The effect of the loss, there's two ways to it. One, you hold close. Another one could be you've put boundaries. You're not letting in.
Those are actually walls, not boundaries.
Yeah, I mean walls. Yes, I meant, thank you, walls. So you've put walls, high walls that no one can get over. So how do you deal with that?
The walls?
Yes.
To God. You know why I say that? Because of the walls of Jericho. But also, seriously though, the walls that you yourself have built, it is very difficult for you yourself to destroy them. Beyonce sang and said, the walls that you set there, they crumbled, they didn't even make in her song, Hello. The walls you've built yourself are to protect you. The mind tells you these walls are to protect me. Unless someone actually works on you to break them down, you are not likely to break them down yourself. And that's where you go to God. Because you can never build a wall high enough for God not to reach you.
Hey, put that on a t-shirt again.
You can never close yourself in a way that ati God atakufikia. And so you say to God, I feel a certain way. I have built walls to protect myself, and I'm afraid of X, Y, and Z. Help me break down the walls. And what God does, as you trust in Him, He breaks them down little by little. When you start to trust in Him, He brings for you trustworthy people. And so you learn that the gates that have been locked for years, you open them. Once the people get in, it's easier to demolish the walls.
So someone is asking, we had finished, but somebody is asking, what if the toxic person is your parent?
Okay, let's end up by saying there's a lot to learn about toxic people. And we've really, like Maureen says, there are several things we may not have been able to do. But like she says, the first thing is, our first way of handling most of this thing is God. Because you see, these are your parents. And with due respect, we should love our parents and respect them. But the worst toxic people actually are found is the three they have named: the parents, the spouse, and the colleague at work. Those three can be, actually the other day we tried to do a program with Tina on Monday. And we tried to do 3 programs. I've tried to do it in several other areas. But I think that's a topic we should revisit because of time. Because those three, you know, these 3 guys they're actually next to you. Your parents is here, your spouse is here, your colleague at work is there with you, and especially when this is the boss. And I think we better do it another time. Yeah.
Just to add on what Dr. has said, if your parent is a toxic one, ask yourself, how far can I go away from this toxicity to be able to live better? Are you 18? Are you 18? Are you 18? So perhaps distance, tunaweza weka distance between us, sindio? Tunaweza kosa ku declare financial independence, maybe you still depend on your parent, but you can put some distance, sindio? The way to deal with toxic people is not to run, is to move little by little. So start setting those boundaries, pole pole. Pole pole too, pole pole too. The worst poison is the one that you drink every day, but you go out and pretend as if everything is fine. Because you come back to that toxic parent every day. So seek help.
Let me mention something briefly. Another thing that I tell my clients, especially who are struggling with toxic parents, your parent is not just a superhero. In them, there's a child that faced rejection. Yes. In them, there's a child that faced trauma. So begin to see them not just as a hero, but as someone who has gone through issues, who has gone through patterns that went unhealed. Pray for them. Pray for them, intercede for them, and speak to God to bring healing to them. That's it.
See your parents as people too who need healing. Let's give a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much. You may have your seats. Thank you. They are so wise and they have so much information. I really wish we had more time, yeah?